going on, everyone? Welcome to the J&J Power Hour. We're back here for another week. We're recording on a different day for us. Raw's passed. Now we're recording as that NXT show is airing. I don't want to talk about releases. I don't really want to talk about wrestling. I'm not really vibing wrestling that much lately. Not vibing, and I'm just not paying a lot of attention to wrestling at the moment. So, whatever. I say
fair.
every week that we're not going to talk about wrestling, and wrestling comes up at some point.
I'll get it out of the way at the beginning.
But that's just where my head is at. Releases suck. They happen often.
Yeah, I don't like it.
We're so accustomed to it at this stage that we don't even need to discuss it, I don't think. But
yeah, no. And I don't, and I'm cool with not chatting about wrestling too much either. I will say this though, that Raw has been pretty good. That's all. I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
But yeah, that's it.
I have no objection. It's a rainy day here as we record.
It was a rainy day here earlier too.
It's on and off with some showers, and it's getting colder. We're now a month from winter. We're getting into our as you can see, I'm in a hoodie. It's my favorite time of year is this cold. I love colder weather. So it is I don't know, rainy days do things to your brain. I don't know what it is. I don't know about if it's just me, just being like, life is a movie, you know. I look out the window sometimes and I'm just like, oh, it's just a rainy day. I need to get some housework done a little later today. And it's just, I don't know, there's something about it that's I feel very comforting. It's very comforting. I feel very comfortable when it's wet outside. It's a little colder. You can get a little rugged up. I don't know. I appreciate that kind of weather. I'm also on day 7 as we record of isolation. I had COVID.
That's fair.
Well, I guess I don't know if I technically still have COVID. I've been pretty much asymptomatic this entire time, other than being a little hot and cold. I tested positive last Wednesday. It is now Wednesday of the next week. And
so I think you're in the clear.
I think I'm in the clear. I'm out of ISO. It's at midnight tonight. I can go out into the world. It's weird when all you want to do when you're out doing stuff is go home, and you're just like, I want to go home and just sit on my ass, sit on my couch and play video games and watch TV. But when you're told you have to be home, it's like there's some internal switch that goes off, but it's like, oh, but I need to go do this, and I need to go do this, and I need to go do this. Like, I haven't started my car in a week, and it's like, that's weird. That's the longest time since I got my license where I have not drove at some point.
Yeah.
Like, it would it's just a weird thing. And luckily I have family and stuff around that can go and get things for me if I needed anything. But like, also like, you know, I'm making a coffee and I run out of milk. It's not like I'm just going to call up someone and be like, hey, I ran out of milk. Can you go to the shop for me and bring me just one thing of milk? Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's just odd. But it is really weird how your mind kind of spins in isolation. It is, I really haven't for the 3 years into the pandemic. How long has this been going on for now?
We're coming up, what is it? It's 2 full years. It's been a little over 2 full years.
It's weird. Like, I really have not been that affected by the pandemic because I've had a job I've always been at work. I really haven't ever had to, like, lockdown was still going to work. Like, so that was still a way to get out of the house. But like, this is the first time in 2 and a bit years where I've actually been like, I have to isolate. I've been exposed to COVID. Isn't it funny how this works? So on Good Friday, obviously the Friday before Easter, was when our mask mandate ended. And a week later, week and a half later, I get COVID. Isn't it funny how that works? I went to work and I'm fully vaccinated. Well, I'm triple vaccinated, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, I'm done wearing a mask because I'm sick of wearing 9 hours a day of wearing a mask. I'm like, I'm just going to take my chances here because I have to be at work a long time. And I still wear a mask down here in case I needed to put it up if, you know, I felt a bit weird or if there was a lot of people around. But I caught COVID. I don't know how. I would assume that I caught COVID at work. That's how I'm assuming I got it.
Yeah.
I work in a supermarket, so I see a lot of people in a day. But also I could have got it somewhere else. You never know. But I got COVID. And it is, I I'm not happy that I got it, but I am in a sense of like, okay, I've had it. Yes, I was asymptomatic and I was very lucky, but also there is a little bit of like an internal thing of me like, okay, have I not built up a barrier? I'm not invincible to COVID or anything, but I'm glad that my body has experienced it in a way to just go,
No,
okay,
yeah.
yeah, like because we've had many chats in this last 8 months that we've been doing this show of like,
Mhm.
this is going to be the day. Like, I'm going to get COVID today. I'm going to get
Yeah.
COVID today. And even you said, I'm
Yeah.
waiting to get it. I'm waiting. And I think over these 2 years, I've almost been waiting to get it. And now that
Mhm.
listen, a lot of people I have no shame. I didn't care. Like, I wasn't hiding the fact that I had it. I already know when I go back to work tomorrow, people are going to be like, oh, you had COVID, you had COVID. I'm like, yeah, but you're probably walking past that many people
Yeah.
in a day that also have had COVID or have COVID. So just
I was
calm
going to say,
down.
most people probably have had COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Not most, but there are a lot of people, I'll say, that have had COVID that probably never really knew they had COVID.
Listen, I could have had COVID in this 2
Exactly.
years that has. I don't
100%.
know. I don't know.
100%.
Again, because I was asymptomatic, I could have had it for a while before I even tested positive. The only reason I tested positive was because I had the sniffles, and I was like, I'll just test just because I go to work and all of that kind of stuff, and I tested positive. And I was like, I looked at that test and was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I have COVID.
Yeah.
It was just I just rang my mom and was like, I have COVID, and she's like, oh fuck, like here we fucking go,
Yeah.
because she was
Yeah.
waiting for everyone to get it in the like, because I'd been around my sister and I've been around. She was like, everyone's gonna get it now, and no one else did. I did the right thing as soon as I kind of felt a bit sick, and then in between, I didn't leave my house or anything
Yeah. I
like that.
didn't. Yeah.
But I am glad that isolation exists, because I wouldn't want to be asymptomatic, then give it to some 90-year-old granny that comes into work and then she passes because of COVID.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that. So I am glad that it exists. But it's not, on the flip side of things, it's not like, it's not like it's the easiest thing. I know that sounds really petty, but it is not the easiest thing in the world. It does weird things to your brain of like, oh my God. The first couple of days, you're like, okay, I'm in my house, I'm just doing my thing. But by like day 4 or 5, you're like, okay, what else can I really do inside this house? Like, I'm just going stir crazy here of like, every day was literally just the same. Like, I was doing the
Yeah.
same thing. And it was just like, I never wanted to be like, oh my God, I just wish I could go down to the shop and do my shopping. Or like, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I could just do something. But yep, that was my experience with COVID. In all, I'm a very lucky person because I was really not sick.
Yeah.
Like, I was sick, but I wasn't sick. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say on that situation, just because it just was what it was.
Yeah. It was what it was, right? That's not bad. I mean, it's better than getting, some people have had a real bad luck with it. So I have a couple of my people that work for me that they had it a while ago, and they still sometimes tell me that they have like effects from it too. Like they'll have like breathing spells or something like that randomly. And these are people that are like in much better shape than me and younger than me. And I'm like, all right. I don't know how I haven't gotten it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it is.
I see a lot of people every day at my job, as do you, working in a supermarket. I see a lot of people every day. And in America here, we haven't been wearing masks. At least at my job got rid of masks 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. So the majority of us haven't been wearing masks. Customers haven't had to wear masks for a year now. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not complaining. But I do understand where you're coming from, where you're like, hey, I had this, I had it. I got a lucky spell of it. But I am glad that like my body experienced it and like we handled it pretty well. And I guess even if you had a couple rough days, I mean, I
was sicker from the vaccine, to be completely. Yeah, the vaccines knocked me. I remember telling you, I'm like, the vaccine has knocked me the fuck, especially the second dose I had. And I think almost my body was that a way of like saying, hey, this is like, it's not having COVID, but it's like your body's learning to fight COVID. So when you actually do get COVID, you won't be too. That's how my philosophy went on it, whether that was right or not. But that's what I'm believing, is that I was really sick from the 2 vaccines, especially the 3, especially dose 2. So that's where my head is at. Is like, okay, my body has learnt what its experience is like with COVID. So here, when you get COVID, we'll fight it. That's how
Yeah.
I took my. I also am probably. I do have age on my side, so that probably helps as well. I'm not saying older people or like something like that, but I am younger, so I think that does help. But yeah, you're. I just am glad that. So they say here, at least in this country, for the next 12 weeks, I could still test positive, but like the likelihood of me getting it again is much lower. It doesn't mean that I couldn't get it again in a week. Like I could see someone get it and be sick in a week. I don't know, but also like the likelihood of you getting it is much, much lower. So I am glad in that respect, but also, hey, if I had my choice, I wouldn't have had it at all.
Yeah, of course. I can understand that.
But yeah, that was my COVID journey, I guess you could say. As we record here today, fucking weird segue, but as we record here today, it's not quite for you, and you're not as big as of a in the fandom as I am, but it is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, friends. For everyone
I will be experiencing that in a few hours. May the 4th be with you.
I know you're not a big Star Wars guy. I'm a bigger Star Wars guy than you, but I'm not.
I've seen all the movies,
fan.
but I don't. Yeah, I've seen all the movies, but like, I know what I'm supposed to know, but I don't dive any deeper. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you. I'm just probably just the step above that, where I'm not reading everything about it, and I'm not, watching absolutely everything. But I've watched all the movies, and I've watched Mandalorian, and I've watched the Book of Boba Fett. Like I've watched a lot of that kind of stuff, and I love the video games of Star Wars, or some of them. But yeah, it is May the 4th, and as it is really crazy whether you're a person that's never watched it or a person that's dived deep on absolutely everything of Star Wars. It's a really fascinating franchise, and it's one that's kind of taken the pop culture world by storm, because when Star Wars originally came out in the 70s?
70s.
Yeah, the 70s. And I guess even to the extent of the prequels, it was looked down as a nerdy thing, like, weird
sci-fi,
fat guys
sci-fi was
go and watch this, and girls would never watch this and stuff like that. But now Star Wars has kind of become this thing where it's just kind of universally loved by a majority of people, and every kind of shape and walk of life can watch and appreciate Star Wars, and it's transcended just what the movies are, and it's just become its own kind of thing within the pop culture world. Like May the 4th is a thing.
That's a thing now. Yeah, well, it's at my hometown, Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. They literally have Star Wars night every May the 4th if they're at home. So it's a day now. It's basically. Every day is something now. National Pizza Day or National whatever. May the 4th has become, it's basically Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Like that's just, it's part of the pop culture now, it's, Star Wars has always been popular, but I do feel like when you talk about that now, it seems like something that is worldwide appreciated and stuff. I do think Disney has something to do with that. Disney
is Disney, so yeah.
When Disney gets a hold of something, it does go to a different level because they milk it, and they made the new movies, they're making the shows, they're gonna do more movies. They already had the couple side movies with Solo and Rogue One. Like they're gonna just there's going to be Star Wars movies every year for the next 20 or every other year for the next 10 years. That's
how it will work. So there'll be a trilogy every so often, and
100%.
And everyone will complain about them, and everyone will.
Yeah, but everyone will go fucking see them. Yeah, everyone will complain about them, but everyone will go fucking see them because it's Star Wars. Though, and I actually found this out like it was either last week or the episode before of Between Two Beards. You know who's never seen Star Wars? Pluggo.
What the? Pluggo.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't come across as a person that I don't know. He just looks like someone that would be into Star Wars or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I don't. For some reason, I think it was last week because we had that longer like NFL football draft episode, and we were just talking about whatever. But yeah, he said that he never saw Star Wars, and then we ended up talking about the fact that he never saw Star Wars for like 20 minutes. Because I was like, "How? What do you mean you never?" He's like, "I've never seen any of it." I'm like, "Not one ever." He's like, "No," and I'm
You
like,
don't have to give
"That
out
is
his exact
unbelievable
age,
to
but
me."
is he around your age or is he a little?
He's like 2 years younger than me.
He is in that
He's in my
group
yeah.
of people that like. That's just.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Wow." Obviously, that doesn't. I don't think of him any less, but I just had assumed.
No. Well,
I
so
was
did
like,
I.
"What?" I blew my mind.
Huh?
Blew my mind.
It is. That's.
I can understand somebody
Pluggo,
seeing it and it not being their thing. Like sci-fi ain't for everybody. Fine.
Yeah.
But even to never see it,
That's just
that's wild to me. That's wild to me.
Blasphemy, my friend.
To be over
a certain age, yeah.
Yeah, to be over 25, 30, especially 30, I would say, if you're like in that 25 to 35, that's shocking to me that you've never seen like at least one of them.
Yeah, there's 9 of them, mate. Like you can,
I know,
like you can go and watch.
Wow, I could not believe it.
Wow. So my Star Wars love, obviously I'm younger. So the first Star Wars that I was introduced to was the prequels. And a lot of people have a lot of things to say about the prequels, especially one of my favorite Star Wars movies, which is The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. But it's sentimental to me because it's the first Star Wars I ever seen. So that will always hold a special place. And a lot of people shit on that movie, and I don't think it's as bad as everybody likes to claim. It's Phantom Menace.
It's not as bad as Attack of the Clones.
That movie is the bottom tier. Just I hate Attack of the Clones. I still always watch it when I rewatch all my Star Wars, but that movie is so fucking awful. I hate Attack of the Clones. I
think people underappreciate Sith.
Revenge
because it's part of the first thing. Revenge of the Sith to me is a top 3 of the 9 for me. It's in my top 3.
Same.
And Revenge I feel like because it's in those prequels, it doesn't get the respect it deserves.
I completely agree. So the prequel trilogy is my favorite just from because I seen it first. But the Revenge of the Sith as a movie is like a GOAT movie.
Very good.
So dark. And not a lot of movies, especially ones that ended trilogy, end so dark. Like it ended really, really cold, really dark. Like Anakin killed children in that movie. Like, you know, when Order 66 happens and then shit hits the fucking fan. Like you got Anakin killing kids in the Jedi Temple, and then you've got troopers turning on Jedi and killing countless number of Jedis, and like the Republic kind of just crumbles beneath them. And then of course the battle in the lava with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and like to think Obi-Wan had killed Anakin, and like that's like a very obviously with the prequels it's a little different because we know where the story is going, so you have to be creative.
You're like, oh, this is we're watching him turn into Vader.
Yeah,
like we're watching him turn into it,
like,
right? And it's like, holy crap.
You think of that in the sense of like from Obi-Wan's perspective, of like he killed Qui-Gon's like hand-picked next savior of the galaxy, and he killed him, and that's where his perspective, like he's dead. That in his mind he's gone, like he just left him, and that's a really. And then, like, obviously, what happened? Spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen a movie that came out in 1999. But like, well, the trilogy started in 1991, but 99. But I think Revenge of the Sith was like 05. So even still,
04, 05 or something like that.
Like Padme dies, like giving birth to Luke and Leia. Like, it's such a whirlwind of stuff that happens in the last 20 minutes of that movie. It is a really dark film. And it's brilliantly produced and brilliantly directed and just brilliantly pieced together. Like, for everything that everyone says about The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, it's doing that movie a disservice to just say you hate all the prequels, because I understand the hate on the first 2. I get it. Even if I love Phantom Menace, I get it. But Revenge of the Sith, when people say they hate that movie, I'm just like, I don't, that's like GOAT Star Wars like fandom for me. And because when you think about Star Wars as a whole, every trilogy, it's a giant love story. And it's family drama. That's what it is. It's a soap opera in the fucking sky. And when you're like, there's just certain elements of people's criticisms of Star Wars, and I'm like, do you understand what you're watching? Do you get what you're watching? Like, even the original trilogy, where like we watched Luke and Leia nearly fall in love, and they were brother and sister. Like, what are you really criticizing here? And it's just a giant gooey love story, really. Especially the prequels with Anakin and Padme.
Oh, Anakin and Padme, yeah.
How do you feel? I know a lot of people. I really am excited for the Obi-Wan series that's coming out. Because I love Ewan McGregor as like he is Obi-Wan.
Once I knew he was coming back, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be.
And then of course, I know a lot of people don't like Hayden Christensen, and that's a lot of the prequel hate comes from him. Comes towards him because they just didn't like his portrayal of Anakin. He was sooky and whingy, and he just moaned about everything. And honestly, I do get it. But when I seen the Obi-Wan series, I'm like, Hayden Christensen has to be involved in some way, because even if you don't like it, he is Anakin. He is Anakin Skywalker. Like that's who he is. Like I mean, did you ever see another movie with Hayden Christensen in it after Star Wars? It killed his career.
It did. It really did. It's bizarre, because you would think that was going to be like, oh, this is where he's going to become a superstar. And then it was like, no, it did the exact opposite.
Everyone else in that movie, from a mainstay, like Ewan McGregor's done lots of stuff. Obviously, Liam Neeson has done a lot of stuff. Natalie Portman has done a lot of stuff. But Hayden Christensen was the one that just kind of copped the full force of all of the hate. But I am very excited that he's involved in the Obi-Wan series. Do you think people like Natalie Portman could also be involved in some capacity? Or is she too removed? Or even whoever? Like,
no,
is she too removed from that?
I don't think so. She's coming back in the new Thor movie. I feel like she's involved
like
with
jacked,
Disney.
isn't she? She's like jacked. Like, she's never been jacked. But she isn't.
So she's coming back in the new Thor movie. Like, that's Disney.
I
feel like if you're willing to go in a Marvel movie, you're going to be willing to go into Star Wars. It's a different thing, but it's the same shit.
It's the same.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the same bubble.
Yeah,
you could say. You know,
it's all run by Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? It's Mickey's decision.
Yeah, I would like to see at least like a cameo. You know, I think Hayden Christensen's going to be involved as like. I think he's going to be part of the series at some point, maybe like a 2 episode. I don't know how I'm assuming it's going to be very Mandalorian and Boba Fett like 7-8 episodes, like different times.
Kinda. They like pop in and out, so you're like going back in time.
So like I could see the fact that like we know Christensen's involved, that he's in, you know, maybe he pops in and out in multiple episodes, like he's involved in a bigger thing.
Yeah,
but I think it would be cool to maybe see a flashback or like a cameo of Padme at some point, and you're like, oh damn, Padme.
Because I liked her portrayal of Padme. I
thought she was good. I thought she was.
So did I. For all the criticism that couple got, and all the criticism that really Hayden got, I thought she did a good job of portraying. She was the lead female in Star Wars. Obviously, in the 90s and in the early 2000s, franchises like that were not led by women. She was the main female in that. In a very male-dominant world. Obviously, the newer trilogy was obviously led by Daisy Ridley, like Rey.
Daisy Ridley,
and she did a fantastic job. We'll talk about those in a minute. But I don't know how we're on a massive Star Wars tangent, but here we are. So listen to this pluggo, little shit, for not watching Star Wars. Yeah, we do.
This would have been a good week. Be like, hey, we're talking about Star Wars. Like, all right, you'd be sitting there.
But yeah, like she did a great job of the character. She's Luke and Leia's mum. Like that's who she is. There's just a lot of I have a very special place in my heart for the prequels, and I always will. Obviously, I've watched the original trilogy, and it's hard to watch them now because the acting is so abysmal.
Oh yeah,
but even in the prequels, some of the acting is like
it was never about the acting with the original Star Wars. I have to ask you then, since you love the prequels, like. I need the opinion on Jar Jar Binks.
Okay, so I don't personally hate Jar Jar. He's a little annoying.
I don't either.
Like, I get the annoyance. I was like, okay, you can shut the hell up now. But also, I don't hate him to the point where it's like, get him off my screen. Like there was bits of him that I was like, okay, he's like a weird alien creature thing, whatever the fuck you want to call him. They have a, see, that's how much I get lost. But they have a name, obviously, but I understand what they're like, obviously that he wasn't really featured in the next two movies for reason.
I think they tried that out and they heard the backlash and they were like, all right.
He was there. Obviously he was on the council at some
stage. He wasn't.
But he wasn't featured. But in the first one, obviously he was featured. And I get what they would do. He was the comedic relief. That's what they were trying to do. But it just didn't work out the way I think they thought, oh, this is going to be the next, like, they're going to love him and he's going to become a part of Star Wars. He is a part of Star Wars lore for a very different reason now. If people just really don't like him. But I don't hate, I'm sure as a little one, I probably loved Jar Jar because I was a kid. But as an adult, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, he is annoying, but it's not to the point where I'm just like, I'm going to turn this movie off. Like, I can just go, okay. And there's a few little bits like, where I'm like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. But I don't hate him. I certainly, it's not like I'm going to go out of my way to be like, bring Jar Jar back. Like, can't wait to see Jar Jar again. But also, if he was to pop up in the Obi-Wan series, which he's not, but if he was to pop up in there, I'd be like, cool, wicked.
Yeah.
It's Jar Jar. But the original trilogy, especially now, it's much harder to watch, but it does hold, it's a different love just because of the importance of it. People are going to hold the original trilogy always in a higher standard than the rest of the movies, especially older people that are watching Star Wars, because it's the first three, and you're always going to love Luke, and you're always going to love Leia and Han Solo. And it was cool to see them pop up, and Vader, obviously, and Chewie and stuff like that. Although Chewie was in it. Was in
all of them.
C-3PO. But it was cool to see them pop back up in the Disney trilogy as well and be like, oh, there's Han Solo and there's Leia, and especially all the complications of obviously Carrie Fisher passing
away.
And that was obviously, and then the way, again, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't watched the Disney trilogy, but there will be spoilers talked about. But like, even with Han being killed in the first of the trilogy in The Force Awakens, like, I remember watching that in the cinema. Did I watch all three at midnight release? I don't think I watched Rise of Skywalker at midnight release.
But I thought Rise of Skywalker
the third one.
But was that during COVID?
No, it was just
was it right before?
It was the end of 2019 that movie came out. So, but the first two of the main trilogy, I don't think I watched Rogue One midnight, but I didn't watch Solo in the cinemas. But I watched the first two of the Disney trilogy in the cinemas, in the theaters, whatever, movies, whatever you want to call it. And I remember when he got stabbed by Kylo, and I was like, oh, well, that's a bold move to kill Harrison Ford in the first.
You can argue the most popular character in the history of the friggin' series. Han Solo in the first, like, he's
the coolest motherfucker
guy alive. He's the coolest guy alive.
Harrison Ford is both
Ford, exactly.
Indiana Jones and Han Solo.
Yeah. And if you even like have seen like him on like he's a famous talk show guest, right? Like, because
he's so like hard.
So cool, and like, he's on something, he's the coolest guy. He's one of the coolest guys alive.
I remember watching an episode of Up Up Down Down years ago. You know, when they used to do like Superstar Save Point, and they'd have like a guest and they would play games, and it was Star Wars week, and she was sent by WWE. You know, when WWE used to send people to media and they would randomly interview. Renee was sent to do Force Awakens, and she said that the cast was great. She said she interviewed J.J. Abrams, and she interviewed Daisy, and she interviewed John, and everybody, and she was like, it was great. And she goes, then I got to Harrison Ford, and everyone was telling her, listen, Harrison's a tough interview. If he goes in with the opinion that he thinks you're cool, you'll have a breezy time. But if he does not get a vibe from you, it's going to be a cold interview. And she said that she goes in, she's like, cool. She did all of her interviews. She goes, Harrison was my last one. She goes, I've got this. Like, she was like, cool. And the first thing she asked him, so when are you going to get into the ring and do some WWE stuff? And he scoffed at her.
Oh, no.
He went, huh. And she goes, I had a 3-minute interview, and she got physically scoffed at 4 times by Harrison Ford. And she goes, so you're Han Solo, you're Indiana Jones. When are you going to get to play Indiana Jones? And he goes, well, if someone gives me a script. She goes, oh.
man.
Like,
oh boy,
she was
that
just
can't
like,
be good.
she was like, oh no. And she just said, she just was telling like Woods, like, I got out of the interview and I was just like, did I insult him or something? He hated me. And she goes, everyone else had a great time with him, but for some reason he just hated me. And I just think that's but he does have that reputation. If he I guess if he likes you, if he thinks the interview is good, he's great. But if he doesn't, he will be a cold bitch to you. But it is
That's amazing though.
Harrison Ford is this like, he's on a different level because he is
he's got
Han
a stature.
Solo.
He's got a certain
he's Indiana Jones. He's done multiple other things, but like, he has got this cool, calm, collected vibe, and you're just like, whoa. He just oozes. Even he's an old man now, and he still just oozes that coolness. But yeah, he was obviously killed in the Force Awakens, and it was quite the bold attack on that saga, or whatever you want to call it. Carrie Fisher is obviously, she is Leia, and she is very special to the Star Wars franchise, and she died in between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi's release, right?
After Force Awakens, but before.
But she had
filmed some stuff.
I think she had filmed completely for The Last Jedi, and they were starting to film for
Skywalker.
For The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I got like I swallowed like saliva and it's like stuck, and I'm like dying over here. But yeah, she had filmed I think some of the Rise of Skywalker was like old footage,
CGI.
or they used.
Oh, was it? Or CGI
I think
or something?
I think they used CGI in some places, and then they use body doubles, obviously, so they can do like behind shots and stuff like that of whatever it may be. But I think she had filmed everything for The Last Jedi. She's obviously, like I said, very important to the Star Wars franchise, and the Star Wars. She is just one of a kind in that sense. Like, I remember watching The Force Awakens. Did you watch The Force Awakens, like, immediately, like, when it was in?
Yeah, I saw that one in theaters, like, not opening night, but it was
within,
It was early.
Yeah.
It was early, yeah.
I remember her passing, and it was, like we said, in between those two movies. I don't know if it was that far after The Force Awakens, now that I'm really thinking about it.
I feel like it wasn't.
It wasn't that far after it come out. I'm just like, oh, what the hell? Like that. Because she was still alive in the movies, I was like, well, what does that mean for the rest of the trilogy? And I remember in The Last Jedi, which, again, is a movie that gets a lot of opinion. A lot of people do not like The Last Jedi. I think using
I didn't mind it.
I didn't
mind it.
It
was all right.
I didn't love it. There's a certain bit in that movie where Leia gets, like, fucking destroyed in the ship, and she goes out into the galaxy, and then she uses the Force, and I was like, wait, what? How is this happening in this movie? It really was like, wait, I was like, what? Because obviously, because she had died, I'm like, oh, this is how she's going to die in the movie.
She's going to die,
Leia's going to die now. But she didn't, and I was like, that's weird. I think what took me out of, I love the Disney trilogy. I honestly really do. I have a lot of love for it. But I think what took me out of it a lot was a lot of the switching. Like, they had a lot of moments where it was like Rey and Kylo were like talking to each other, but they weren't in the same room, but then they could run in between. Like, it was really, as movies that are generated towards families, really, I would say Star Wars is. Yes, there's the hardcore audience, but kids watch this movie as well. I found that really, really fucking confusing. And I was like, how are they, I understand the Force and everything, but then why would they even, like, why wouldn't they just constantly be, like, it was just, it took me out of the experience.
Once it gets too complicated, like, and again, we're talking about a world up in space, right?
Yeah.
So but like, even when
damn.
You hearing that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That roaring out there?
Yeah.
When even stuff like that gets too complicated, that's when you start to lose people.
Yeah.
Like, not the same thing at all. Were you a Game of Thrones person at all?
Never watched it.
Okay. Well,
I know. I watched the first episode, and I watched like two brothers or something try and fuck one another, and I was like, I don't know if I like this.
That very much is, that happens in the show.
I was like,
Family
oh, I don't
things.
know.
But the last season and a half, things like that, where you were not so much like plot lines, but like things that were happening, you were like, like it took them seasons to travel from one place to the other early, and they just traveled in a half an episode. Like, what is like, how is this, and like things started going that way where it was like, okay, now this is just too complicated. Like things don't make sense on a grander scale of things, And I think once you get to that point, people are going to be like, all right, this changes how I
It takes you out of
thought
it.
about it just takes you completely out of it.
And that's what happened to me in the Disney trilogy when Ray and Ren were just kind of talking to each other all the time. And I was like, wait, what? Then why fly to each other's? Like, I just didn't understand it. If you always knew where that person was, there's really no suspense of like, is Kylie going to find her? Or is Ray going to
say, like, why are we trying to find him when you can just talk to them?
Yeah, and like it was weird. And then obviously, you know how that went. But The Last Jedi was a really weird thing. And I think The Rise of Skywalker had to do up for a lot of the mistakes or a lot of the plot holes that were in The Last Jedi. I think changing directors was a really weird concept in the beginning, and that should have never happened, of having different directors.
All three of them had three different directors, correct?
No, so JJ had the first one, and originally it was going to be whoever did The Last Jedi. I can't think of his name.
I think it was Rian Johnson, right?
That guy. And then there was going to be a different one for The Rise of Skywalker, but I think they seen what happened with The Last Jedi, and then they'll go, maybe JJ's the right.
So Abrams took back over.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
From my understanding. Someone's probably going to be in the comments.
I'm going to be honest with you. I saw Rise of Skywalker once, and I saw it on Disney Plus because it was definitely during COVID times, and I don't remember much of it.
I really like The Rise of Skywalker. Much of it. It's one of my higher up Star Wars movies. I really, really appreciate it.
I would need to watch it again to have like a real strong opinion.
It could have been so much better if they didn't have to do up and kind of
like fix the issues.
Fix the issues. It could have just kind of went the way it was. Also, JJ said that his director's cut was much longer and much more happened that kind of explain a lot of those potholes.
You think we ever see that? That ever gets released?
In Disney's vault somewhere, so I can't understand. They always release director's cut, but I think the director's cut went for 3 hours or something like that. But I mean, it's a
people do that. People do that. Yeah,
it is what it is. I would watch it. And JJ said that without saying it, he said I think a lot of the plot holes would get even more, less of extent of a band-aid and more of an actual stitch up with some things. And a lot of things that happened with certain cameos of people were included in the movie and then taken away. So I really like The Rise of Skywalker, but as a whole, I really haven't not that many bad things to say about Star Wars. I really appreciate that franchise.
Oh yeah,
it's probably the only movie franchise that I've ever really like loved to this extent, because it's just, I'm a video game person as well. There's a new Lego Star Wars video game that I have not got yet that I want to get. I love Lego games in general. I think they're just fantastic games. But like there's a lot of like Star Wars stuff like Battlefront, and then they had what was that one? Why can't I think of the name of the game that come out not a few years ago, and you were
yeah. I know Fallen. I know
the Fallen Jedi. No,
Fallen Jedi.
Was that?
Yeah. Star Wars Fallen Jedi.
Why can't I think of
something like that?
I'm having I'll just blame it on the COVID.
I thought that game was pretty good.
It is, and there's been dud games in the past, but like they've had a lot of love in that. And there's a talk of like an open world Star Wars game, which will be really fun because I love open world stuff. So, and in that universe, please sign me up. So, like I said, I really have not too many bad things to say about Star Wars. I've always really appreciated Star Wars, and again, it's the only fandom I've ever really loved outside of wrestling, like that on that extent. Anyway. It doesn't really, wrestling is like way up here, but it doesn't really, there's no other, I'm not a movie buff. I've never been one to like study movies or like go out of my way to watch a lot of movies outside of the movies that I see. I know that sounds kind of like hyperbole, but it's like, it is like I don't watch that many movies. Like I'm much more of a TV binger than everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know if you segueing off of Star Wars. I know I'm late to the fucking party on this. My sister's been telling me to watch this for years, but I've recently discovered Good Mythical Morning, like Rhett and Link on YouTube. Have you ever watched Good Mythical Morning?
No, I haven't at
Oh
all.
my
I don't
god,
even know what it is.
it's so good. So their names are Rhett and Link, and they do a lot of things with food and different like experiments.
Okay.
It's really hard to explain without like you just watching it, but they're funny, and it's Monday to Friday, I think. And I've
So
only,
it's a TV, it's like a YouTube show.
it's a YouTube show. It goes, they're like
Okay,
15
gotcha.
to 20-minute episodes. They do like different
Okay.
things, like I said, a lot of stuff with food, and they do like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. If I explain it in a way, you'll be like, that sounds fucking boring. Like, why the fuck would I want to watch that? But Good Mythical Morning, look it up on YouTube. Obviously,
Okay,
it's
I will.
free.
Yeah.
It's YouTube. But someone will be listening to this and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, Rhett and Link, like Good Mythical Morning. But my sister's been watching it for a long time. Be like, Josh, what? And I've watched little bits and pieces with her. I'm like, I don't know, this isn't for me. And then because of COVID, I didn't really have much else to do. So I'm like, it come up in my YouTube recommended. I was like, I'll put this on just for something to watch. And I was like, oh, I get it. It's kind of funny. And then all of a sudden, you know, that's all you're watching.
Yeah.
So it is kind of cool. I love discovering new shit where you haven't watched anything. You're like, wow, there's so much. And there's years and years and years of backlog of, and because it's on YouTube, it's so easy. YouTube is the easiest platform to use, like out of everything in the world. It works the best. It just, it's accessible. It's obviously free unless you pay for premium. So it's like one of those things that are truly free. Like you don't have to. It's not like it's on Netflix. And you have to Netflix. Fucking hell, It's like $23 or something here for.
Yeah, and didn't they just like they canceled like their whole cartoon department, and they canceled like.
Fuck Netflix.
And I'm not going to try to remember the number, but I feel like I heard like it was in the hundreds of projects.
They even canceled like,
wow, like what the hell's going on?
What's her face? The one that's married to the fucking royal man, Megan. What's her face?
Oh, Meghan Markle.
Yeah, her. They canceled her show and everything. I was like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, very bizarre.
Netflix. Here's the thing: Netflix have really good series, like not all the time, but they do. But they always can them. They never. There's so many shows on Netflix that are just uncompleted and unfinished with like massive like cliffhanger endings, and then they don't like Glow. Like Glow's the one that comes to mind.
Oh.
Like, I loved Glow, and then I
loved Glow,
and they said they were gonna have a final season. And then COVID stopped that, but I'm like, I don't know if COVID really stopped that as much as you just wanted an excuse not to continue it. Like it's just, I don't know. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, and Netflix is so damn expensive. Like it is so expensive to watch Netflix, and we have a tax on streaming services in this country. We have a GST.
Really?
Yes, it's very, very annoying. So we pay a little bit more even with the exchange. I think like 4K Netflix and like, you know, like the highest tier one is like $25 a month. I'm not paying $25.
I mean, I think ours, I just got an email literally like within the last like 2 or 3 weeks saying they were raising it again. So I think for me, it's going to be $21.99 now or something like that. $20.99.
Yeah. And like the cheapest tier A is 480p. In what fucking world is that an okay resolution to have like at all? And B,
really.
They're going to start introducing ads before much longer. And it's like, I'm paying for something. I don't care how cheap or how expensive it is. I shouldn't be watching ads.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not okay. And like there's other streaming services now. Again, we have difference in streaming services just for what's available and what's on what platform. But there's stuff that's so much better than Netflix. Like so much better. Disney Plus is better than Netflix.
Disney Plus is fantastic. Disney Plus is really good. I actually think Hulu, if you mess with Hulu.
We don't get Hulu here, but we get a lot of the
I feel like Hulu has risen the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Disney Plus is excellent.
Disney Plus has a range of stuff. We have Stan here. We don't have that over here. It's an Australian one, but they have lots of shows from HBO and stuff on Stan. And
well, we have HBO Max.
I think we get a lot of
which
that.
Is excellent as well.
But Stan are really good for television shows. They have all Netflix have recently got some, but like they have a lot of really good TV stuff, and it's like I think $10.99 or something a month, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Obviously, we still have the WWE Network here, and we have Binge, and we have other things, but out
I
of
miss the
everything,
WWE Network.
Netflix is always that one show that's on Netflix that you want to watch. Like The Office
Yeah.
is on Netflix over here, and Parks and Rec is on Netflix over here. So like they're my
Same.
two favorite things, and I'm like, well, I want to watch those, but also I don't want to pay $25 just to get fucking Netflix.
Yeah.
Like I understand I'm not encouraging people to illegally watch things, but I understand it. Like I get it. Like I get why people browse the internet and try and find illegal copies of these shows because it's so damn expensive. It makes me regret getting rid of a lot of my DVD collections of these shows because I'm like, oh, I won't need these anymore because I have streaming services. But now it's like, I wish I could. I know it's a little bit, you got to put in disc and all that bullshit. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's true because I think about all the DVDs that I owned and Blu-rays and things like that. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on those. And whenever I moved or whatever, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, all this stuff is just going to be on a streaming service somewhere that I'll just be able to search it and watch it and it won't matter. So like, yeah, I can give away 65 or 75% of these things that I spent my regular money on. And now it's like, oh, well, if I want to watch this movie, I need to make sure I have this streaming service, which is $12. Oh, I want to watch this other movie. Oh, that's on a different one. That's $9. And
add all those up.
Yeah. And a lot of the when streaming services started getting like really, really popular, whatever, within the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, a lot of people, including myself, we cut cable. I was like, I'm not doing cable anymore. I can just do these streaming services. But now there's so many streaming services and all of them have signature TV shows that you hear from a ton of people. You got to watch the show. It's great. You got to watch the show. And it's like, okay, well, if I want to watch all this shit, I'm going to be paying just as much as I fucking did when I was doing cable.
Yeah.
Because I have Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Discovery Plus. I don't have it, but there's like fucking Paramount Plus over here. There's fucking AMC
here too, yeah.
Like there's a million of these things, and they all have shows on there that are critically acclaimed that people in my life are like, you got to check this show out. And I'm like, all right,
it's going to become a thing.
25 of these things.
It's like, this sounds like cable, but we should be able to pay one fee and get all of that. But that's basically what cable was.
That's what cable was. Yes.
it's
that would be us going back to cable,
but in a streaming way.
But in a streaming way. And I think at the end of the day, that's what this is going to fucking be.
They'll all just kind of be like, here's a place that offers all of that. And you pay
here's $100,
$100 or something, and you get everything.
Correct.
Which is, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But also, like, there's just so many things, and there's always one thing from somewhere that you're like, I have to watch that, so I have to pay that this month, and then it's just we're being petty, and it's first world problems of like, oh, we're complaining because it's too much to watch, and
I'm
going
to be honest with you, I would give a lot to get the WWE Network back. I would give a lot.
Well, there's ways, my friend. VPNs are a thing.
But, I know.
But also, like, when I don't think we're in a position where the WWE Network will be a thing for that much longer here.
Yeah.
Because there's certain WWE things popping up on streaming services here. And I'm like, uh-oh, it's starting. Yeah. They're going to start selling and shopping around to whatever that country's streaming service they find best here. And it's like, oh, no, I don't want that to happen because the WWE Network runs so well because it's specifically catered to that. Like that's what its service is there for. Also, since America has got off the WWE Network, works flawlessly over here.
I bet.
Because the servers are not overloaded. Like they're not overloaded.
Unreal, like Peacock, you are so lucky
we
that
don't
you have
have
to deal with that. It is so bad.
Yeah, I've heard.
So bad. Oh, but anyway. I digress.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about me watching WrestleMania Backlash this Sunday, and I'm like, this is going to be such a because Peacock is just so terrible to navigate.
I've heard.
Brutal.
I hear that from a lot of my American people that I talk to on the Twitters and on the internets. They're like, it's just truly awful. Like it always buffers and it crashes.
Yeah, buffers. They fixed it now, but like the first while, like you couldn't live pause
Yeah,
You
what the
couldn't, like, if I had to work or something and I was like turning on the pay-per-view 10 minutes late or something, I couldn't start from the beginning and catch up. Like there was no, you were like, oh, you're an hour late. Well, guess what? Either you wait till it's over and watch it later or tomorrow, or you miss the first hour. And I'm like, what is this, 1990 fucking four? What am I doing here? Like, what is happening? They fixed that, thank God, because I think the people were relentless. Like, the feedback was just relentless. But
whoa.
it's not ideal. It's not ideal.
It's. I'm just waiting for the day where Peacock emerges in this country.
It's gonna happen
because it's gonna happen. Oh, I know.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Well, unless Disney ends up buying WWE, then it will just be on Disney Plus, and it'll probably be fantastic, and we won't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
It'll get its own little thing. It'll say, Disney, Pixar, Marvel, WWE, and then you just click it, and it'll be everything.
And it's Disney. They're just a huge. Disney is a juggernaut. It's the juggernaut of the world. It's not a juggernaut. It's the juggernaut of the world. There's nothing bigger in my eyes than Disney.
Correct.
It is like massive isn't even the right word for what that. It's not even a company at this stage. It's just like
it's like a
fucking founding father. Like it's
I don't even know.
Ridiculous what Disney.
If you think about all the things that they do or own, like ABC is Disney Sports, ABC Sports, all this stuff. They own Marvel, they own Star Wars, they obviously have their own movies, Pixar, things like that. Like Disney is involved with
all the things you love
of the things we watch.
All the things you love are probably somewhere associated with Disney. They have the 100%. Simpsons on Disney Plus.
Yes, the Simpsons are on Disney Plus, which is crazy.
Like just what? They have a place that has the Simpsons, Marvel, Star Wars, all the Disney produced things, Pixar.
Yep.
The list goes on and on here of just, I mean, they have that Star thing now, so it's not even just catered to like Disney is not kids anymore. It is kids.
Yeah.
It's not just catered to children anymore. So like to think that is like I don't know. It really makes my mind spin of just how much Disney owns and how much more Disney will acquire. I just think
they're just going to keep getting bigger. Just going to keep.
They're not getting any smaller. I can tell you that.
No.
Disney is.
So.
It is weird that we could live in a world one day where WWE is under the Disney umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, who else can it? I mean, it's going to be them or what? Amazon or what? It's going to be one of these big companies that does it if they ever do sell. Which honest to God, I think
one day.
I
don't think it's in our near future, but it's in our distant future.
I do think they'll sell. Whether when Vince knows he's getting to the end of like his life, truly, like when he's getting to the end, I think he would sell rather than have somebody take it over. I just feel like he's that kind of guy. He'll be like, I don't want anyone taking this over. I'm selling it.
And don't forget, WWE, we're not dealing with a tiny company. It's a publicly traded massive media company at this stage.
Disney will buy that for billions of dollars, and they'll be making bank on it. And then the McMahon family will be set for the rest of time.
And WWE will not be it will not be the same.
WWE will be a lot different. I can't even imagine how crazy different it would get, but it would be a lot different. A lot different.
Even if on the surface we don't really notice it too much. But the ins and outs, the classic content that would not be on a Disney platform.
That is true. They would probably have to scrub some stuff. They would have to scrub some.
Because they would own it.
I don't know how fond they would be of a kid potentially on Disney Plus going to see some of that Attitude Era stuff or some.
Where they're saying some slurs and they're saying
slurs and
women getting
scantily clad women getting oogled at or thrown in a mud bath or
beat up with a chair by men. Like I just don't. Wrestling at its core, it will just be a very different experience, and
it will be.
It'll be a day that will happen.
It's gonna happen. It will happen at some point. It will happen.
Crazy when you think about it. But
Yeah.
who really knows what's going on with that world? But yeah, I think that kind of comes to the end of we're just kind of going with the flow on these shows.
Kind of turned into like mainly a Star Wars talk today.
I don't know. I wasn't expecting to talk about Star Wars for that long.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad. And fucking
I'm not mad either.
Go watch Star Wars.
Right?
What the fuck are you
Right?
doing? You have a little
Everyone
one too.
get on Pluggo.
He
Everyone
has a
that
little one,
watches
doesn't
this,
he? He has a little kid.
I feel like that's perfect. Like, you know, and he even said that, like, so we started talking about Star Wars, and I know you're not a Harry Potter person, but we started, and then it went into like another franchise. I was like, all right, well, like Harry Potter, you have kids. And he was like, no. And I'm like, really? He goes, my wife loves it though. And I go, what?
What are you doing?
Your wife loves it.
Does he have one kid or two kids?
You got kids.
He's got two, right?
Why haven't you watched this with your wife? He's got 4 kids.
He's got 4 kids? Pluggo.
Yeah, two of them are older though. I think 2 of them are like teenagers. But he's got 2 younger.
No, but that makes it even more like
that's
crazy.
What I'm saying.
If he's got older kids, why the fuck aren't you sitting down with them and watching Star Wars or Harry Potter or whatever? Wow. Like, what are you doing, Pluggo? That's your job as a parent, is to educate your children on stuff. Like, I would have never watched Star Wars if it wasn't for my father.
Yeah. Wild.
Pluggo, you need to get on him.
We got to get him to watch Star Wars, because I think he'll like Star. He'll be in.
Yeah, he'll be in.
And then once he watches Star Wars, then you get the kids in. You got it. That's such an easy family afternoon. Hey, let's have a Star Wars movie marathon. You can bust out 2 movies. Make some food, some popcorn, some drinks. Like that's an easy Sunday afternoon. That's an easy
junk
Sunday
food for the little ones, junk food for yourself. Like, just have it as a write-off day and just shuttle the curtains, shuttle the blinds, and have a movie day. Like, we'll buy, if you don't have Disney Plus, we'll buy you the subscription so you can go. I
will.
Watch
I literally will. I literally will. It's $6 or $7 over here. Like, I'll do it.
Make sure you tell Pluggo to watch this episode of the Power Hour.
Yeah, anybody that's watching this,
tell Pluggo to watch.
Tell Pluggo. Go on Twitter. Me and Josh both follow him. Find him and say, hey, watch Star Wars. What the hell's wrong with you?
Dumbass. Fucking dumbass, Pluggo.
Jesus. But anyway.
Please harass him when you have him on.
You know, for real. I mean that. Like, do it. Don't be a dick.
Don't be an ass.
Like, don't be. Yeah.
Be like, what the hell, man? What you doing? Why aren't you watching Star Wars?
Yeah. Go rag on him a bit.
But yeah, when you get on Between Two Beers this week, you say from me, what the hell is going on here? Because
I will 100%. I will not do it off air too. I'll do it on air.
Yeah, do it on air, because that's not on.
Guaranteed.
That's not on.
Guaranteed.
But that's going to probably do us for this week here on the Power Hour. We had a lot of fun. We'll be back here at 9 o'clock next Thursday, of course, Australian Central Standard Time. Make sure to follow us where you see on the screen. Doing some cool stuff. Oh, one thing I do got to add, during my COVID time, my 2K22 data crashed. Not once,
I saw this.
But twice. Wiped twice.
So what exactly? I know we're trying to get out of here, so we don't have to make it long. But like, what exactly happened? What caused it? I saw it, but like, what exactly caused it to shit the bed?
I was just playing my GM. The first time it happened, I got into 14 weeks, and I went to press continue, and it crashed. And I was like, okay, crash, whatever. Then I went back into the game. Tried to load up that save, crashed again. And I was like, oh, fuck. Then I loaded up the save and it said, your data has been corrupted. And I'm like, uh-oh. Then I realized on top of that my PlayStation Plus had run out. So my storage wasn't getting auto-uploaded to the cloud. So I couldn't even download the stuff to like reinstate. So I'm like, okay, cool. I have to start again. Sat there for like, sooked about it for a bit. And I was like, all right, let's start again. Played my GM, got like 50-something weeks in, it crashed again. And I was like,
really?
Do I try and access this or do I not? And I was like, listen, I haven't really done that much of editing. Let's see if I can just get back into this. Did it, corrupted again. And I was like, what the fuck?
That sucks.
So I've just not touched my GM, and I've started doing stuff. And I've also got my PlayStation Plus.
So the game still works when you're not in my GM.
Well, it's crashed once in that time, and it hasn't wiped my data, but I just haven't touched my GM. Obviously, I reported the stuff to 2K.
Yeah,
as a next maker, I have the priority ticketing stuff, but
they
just said that, of course, the standard game thing that any game company would do we're investigating the situation.
Of
But it
course.
wasn't I wasn't using anything custom. I was just playing my GM, and
Huh.
it was just really odd how it
That
just
sucks.
randomly happened. I've never had a crash in my GM before that new patch where they added in stuff, where it was like an
Yeah.
extra match and tag team titles and that. So I don't know if it's something in the coding of that. I don't know. But yeah.
Mm.
So rest in peace, Slapjack, universe mode, because he's gone.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I
That's
can't
heartbreaking. He was just
do
about to
that.
take the world by storm.
So we'll have to do something else in that.
All right.
But it
All
does
right.
make me a little cautious because I don't want to start something content-wise and then it gets wiped. But I am backing up my data now, so it is a
Okay,
little
cool.
different. But even still, that shouldn't be a thing that I have to worry about. Of like, oh, is
No,
my
of
data
course
backed
not.
up? Like I can reinstall it, like wipe. I don't know what's it called. Like back it up and put it back into my game. But yeah, Slapjack is he's a goner,
Ah, damn,
and I don't
that's
want
a
to
shame.
start it again because that just seems like
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. It's
we'll have
weird.
to pick a new
You have to pick someone else.
lower tiered
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe we can see the rise of Akira
Eric
Tozawa.
Bischoff.
Oh yeah. You see the rise of somebody on the lower card that just new presentation, you can take the world by storm.
Maybe we'll finally do that Tamina superstar mode.
Oh yeah,
That'd be everyone's
dope.
been waiting for.
Yeah,
Get
have her
Tamina in
just run
there.
it. Just have her run it. Just have her run it. Be both champions. Just running the show.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, but it was that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, no, Slapjack, he's gone.
All the times for that shit to happen, it has to be during when you're trapped in your house for 7 days.
I know, and it happened on the first day of ISO. The first day, yeah.
Oh
literally.
my god!
It happened
What
on the Wednesday
frick?
night.
What timing?
And then I woke up to play it because I'm like, oh, it crashed, like whatever. It was late. I was like, I'll just go to bed and fucking deal with this in the morning. And then when I woke up, it was a goner, and I was like,
terrible.
No.
All right, well, R.I.P. Slapjack.
He was fun while he lasted, but
he was.
Yes, make sure to follow us. You can follow all the stuff you see on the screen. All the links, of course, are in the description below as well. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that goodness. And until next Thursday at 9 p.m, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.